Folks, ladies and gentle cars, my name is Farkle8000, and welcome back to the Diecast Competition Series. We are almost done April, and it is time for the April competition. This year has been absolutely crazy so far. We have had 4 different winners in the first 4 competitions. Does April make it 5? Do we go 5 competitions with 5 new winners? It would be the first time that has happened since 2020. Our last competition really jumbled up the field. We are back to the regular gray track we used for the first 3 competitions. But before we begin, we have some late breaking stories. Lantern and Pullback, 2 competitors you're going to see very early on in this video. In fact, they're going to be involved in race number 1. Talked to the series over kind of the break between Race Derby and April, and they noted that they were considering retirement. It wasn't 100% decided yet whether they would or not, but they've just kind of thrown the thought into the hat. Speaking of retirement, a quick reminder about Venom and his retirement situation. Venom will not retire unless a non-Hot Wheel competitor wins a competition. I felt like this was important to note because it almost happened in the last competition. If Kohler had won Race Derby, Venom would retire at the end of this season. Of course, we have, 10 competitions left after this one, so definitely still a lot of time, but I wanted to put out that reminder. And finally, Velvet, in the March competition, should have won his round 1 race, but his piece malfunctioned, and that put him in last. We have an outcome with that. The series instead has thought this over quite a lot, and so Velvet will be getting a round 1 pass in his race. So the race that he is in, if he wins, he'll move on. If he doesn't win, there will be 2 competitors moving on. The final piece of news to get to, we have 2, quote, brand new competitors to the series. I say quote because we have a brand new rookie in Hoverstorm, and we have a returning competitor who hasn't raced since 2020, and that is Abstract. They will not race until the very end of this round. They will be in the final race of round number 1, so that would be tomorrow. So, got some time to wait there, but we have 2 new competitors, putting our rookie total this year to 35, and that is tied for the most in a single season, and we're only on the 5th competition of the year. Holy moly. Anyways, I believe I have stalled long enough. Let's get straight into the racing. We begin round number 1 of this competition from right to left with Bird, Lantern, Fire, and Pullback. And it looks to be an even start. Pullback maybe in the lead. Lantern upside down into Fire. Now he's in the wrong lane. It's a drag race now to the finish line. Bird maybe ahead. It's a slow drag race. Pullback will cross the line. Bird will bounce off his piece. So we have a triple DNF with Pullback getting the victory. Wow, that was insane. From what I've seen this year, I had no idea that Lantern was going to be able to build enough speed to launch like that at the transition, but he did. And with him flipping and then possibly getting into Fire, but at least rolling into his lane, I have no idea how Fire flipped over. Probably a very similar situation. Pullback, advancing to round 2. Jeep, Minecart, Finns and Dylan race next. And it looks to be Jeep and Finns out in the lead. Minecart bouncing on the side of the track. It's a drag race at the front of the pack. Finns now begins to pull away and will grab the victory. Everyone else drives in behind as Finns drives to a pretty quick win. I thought Jeep was going to be able to hold on And if he didn't, I did not think that Fins was going to just pull away like that. I felt like maybe it was going to be closer to a photo finish. An impressive win right there for Fins, driving on to the next round. A great recovery as well from Minecart, who got onto the side of the track, nearly flipped over, but was able to save it. Comes home in third. Metrotech, Volks, M and Bronze race next. And it looks to be a very even start. Maybe Metrotech and Bronze pulling ahead. Volks on the side of the track now slowing down. Metrotech was sideways. Drag Race and Bronze will beat Metrotech at the line. Volks will stall out mid-track with his back tire off his lane and on the sidewall, so he will DNF. Metrotech having a terrible start to the year. Will come home in second here. I mentioned he tipped up onto two wheels there. That's probably what sealed his fate and what slowed him down too much to be able to catch Bronze. Oldster, Rescue, Bullet, and Outlander race next. And it looks to be an even start. It looks like Outlander beginning to pull away. Back end bouncing as they're all clean. 4 wide. Coming to the line, it's Outlander who will outlast them all. And it will look very, very tight for second place. And it looks like Rescue will be credited with that position. Oldster, so close to that position. Our first clean race of this competition gives way to Outlander. Has also had a very rough season. Good to see him advancing to round 2. Finish, Total, Flatbed, and Silver race next. And it's a very even start. It looks like maybe Flatbed and Silver in the lead. Total a little wobble as Finish pulls to the lead. No one can catch him as he crosses the line in first. And we have another tight battle for second place. That will go to Total. And I will need to watch that race back to know exactly what happened with both Silver and Flatbed. Because they were leading, and then coming through that transition, it looked like Total was really the only one with a wobble. I guess Finish is just cleaner through there. And so he's the one moving on. Sierra, Plasma, Luke, and Christopher race next. And it's a very even start. It looks like Luke a little sideways before they even hit the transition. He's up on 2 wheels on top of Plasma as Christopher pulls away to a car length lead. Luke will come home and last. The battle really was for second. That also wasn't really in contention as Plasma will easily take that position over Sierra. The NASCAR in this race, and Christopher gets a relatively easy victory. Sierra still having a rough go at it. Luke, a rough finish. Also a good save for no DNF. He's in fourth. Once again, it's Christopher to round 2. Skull, Ream, 68, and Mini race next. And it looks to be Mini a slight lead. Ream now beginning to pull ahead. It looks like Skull's on the side of the track as Ream's still in the lead. 68 cannot close, and so Ream will get the victory. And Skull, inching along the track, will come close to the finish line. Skull, a disappointing finish here, finishing in last. But Ream took the lead away milliseconds, before they hit the transition. And he was gone. He grabbed the victory. 68 just wasn't close enough. Rancher, Throwback, Bruiser, and One-Liner are up next. And it's a pretty even start once again. Maybe Rancher in the lead. Bruiser in the air on the side of the track. But he saves it. And they're 4 wide coming to the line. It's very, very close. It looked like One-Liner will beat Bruiser. And he will. One-Liner will win. Bruiser, I'm going to be saying this all season long. A great save. Got on the side of the track after that transition, was in the air, but he got down. Didn't lose much time and was able to nearly drive to the win. Was just a bumper too far behind One-Liner, who moves on to round 2. Bush, Crystal, High Point, and Tron race next. Crystal in lane number 2 is the only non-NASCAR in this race, so let's see how she does. It looks like she's doing pretty well in the lead, but a little sideways before the transition. She pops her back end up and she loses the lead to High Point, and he'll take the win. A car length ahead of Crystal as High Point takes the victory. Crystal will still hold on for second place, but a rough finish there. Had the lead, not only got sideways, but then bounced the back end up through the transition, and that lost her just too much speed. That mistake will lose her this race to High Point. Racer 10, Mustang and Tire Pros. Race next. And Tire Pros will start in the lead, but very quickly lose it. Mustang way in there. Racer now upside down into 10, as Tire Pros will drive to the win. 10 will try to get to the finish line, but get slowed down by Racer, and they will both DNF. That was a wild wreck. We are hearing from reporters at the track that the reason 10 is unable to finish is because Racer's spoiler is not in her lane. It is instead just barely in 10's lane, and that is affecting him. And looking at the replay, Racer gets off the track, gets on the sidewall, and then there's a little piece on the sidewall there. We saw Chomps hit it in the first competition. Well, Racer goes ahead and hits it there. That launches her into 10, and it's just mayhem. From there, they will both not finish the race. It's Tire Pros moves on to round 2. Country, Trunkless, Skyline, and Rev race next. It looks to be a pretty even start. Trunkless maybe falling behind, now wobbling. Rev on the side of the track. Trunkless bouncing between walls. It's a drag race to the finish line. It looked like Skyline beat Rev. And Skyline will beat Rev. Skyline will win this race. It was close. Rev coming through the transition, got sideways, hit the wall, and once again had another great save, and almost won this race in a photo finish. I don't know how Skyline held on. Skyline moves on to round 2. Kurt, Railing, Blackout, and M3 race next. And it looks to be an even start. M3 and Kurt pulling ahead. Blackout in the air, Railing on the side of the track. It's a drag race to the finish line, and M3 will finally advance to round 2. Railing will bounce off this finish piece and be unable to finish the race. But who cares about that at the moment, as M3 finally advances to round 2. Last season, he started 3rd and was as low in points as 12th. This year, he's 195th in points. 195th. He has had a heartbreaking finish after a heartbreaking finish. Finally advancing to round 2. I have been waiting way too long to say those words. Let it be this luck, this series luck, that M3 is the one to make it 5 for 5 in 2025. I wouldn't be surprised. Safari 1, Spikes, and 55 race next. It's an even start. It looks like Safari beginning to pull ahead. A bounce. He's way in the air. 1 flips behind the competitors. A drag race to the finish line. And Spikes will barely beat 55 to the finish, as both Safari and 1 have flipped off the track. That was a lucky finish there. A lucky break for Spikes, who ends up winning the race, but also a lucky break for 55 as well, as when 1 got off the side of the track, she immediately spun towards them. Very lucky that 1 was a little bit further behind, and so she didn't affect their race. But this is a heartbreaker here for especially Safari, as he was leading. He was leading the race, and then made a mistake. Wrecked coming through the transition. Spikes advances to round 2. Lefty, Redliner, Nova, and Star race next. And it looks to be an even start. Maybe Star edging ahead a little bit. Redliner in the air now on the side of the track. Nova is wobbling, and so Star will get the victory. Redliner will stall out about halfway down the track in sight of the finish line. Nova was side by side there with Star. I thought it was going to be a drag race to a photo finish, but then he started wobbling back and forth, and so that's why he's going to finish second. Just that small little mistake is going to cost him a victory to Star, who moves on to round 2. Rifle, Flames, Daylight, and Discount race next. Flames in lane number 2 is the only non-NASCAR in this race, so let's see how he does in this one. It looks to be pretty good so far. He's leading the race, but he wobbles. Now he's flipped upside down as it's Rifle now has the lead and will barely cross ahead of Discount. Flames had the lead. He had the win practically in sight. But then he made that very crucial mistake. That transition makes or breaks your race in this one. It broke Flames, so he will end on his side and finish last in this one. Rifle moves on to round 2, just barely beating Discount to the line. Blue, White, Turbo, and Dragon race next. And Dragon's out of the gate with a huge lead. But he bounces. He's on the side of the track in front of Turbo. Blue's off the track as well, and so White will cruise to an easy victory. Dragon will finish. Blue will bounce off his finish piece, and Turbo will also DNF. Blue bouncing off his finish piece will put him in 3rd. Turbo will be put back to 4th, and that is a rough race for everyone except White, who will be moving on. Just like we saw in the last race with Flames, Dragon's race was ended through that transition, got on the side of the track, and impeded Turbo, so technically Turbo's race also ended through the transition, no fault of his own. White, the only clean competitor in that one, so that's why she's moving on. Mobile, Dual Fueler, Bleu, and Rookie Jacqueline race next. It looks to be Jacqueline in the lead, but now quickly gets swallowed out. Dual Fueler on the side of the track. Blue is in the air as well. It's a 3-wide drag race to the line. And it looks like Dual Fueler gets the win. He does get the win. Blue will come home in second. So the two competitors, we just ran 2 races where the mistake through the transition cost them the race. First and second in this one also made a mistake through that transition, but it kind of made their race as they finished first and second. 3rd place finish here for Mobile, so the NASCARs will finish 3rd and 4th in this one. Jacqueline continues to struggle as Dual Fueler advances to round 2. So the next few races will include rookies only. So next up we have Mighty, Burner, Viper, and Ziggler. It looks to be Viper in the lead. A great start. Now bouncing. Burner on the side of the track, but he's in the lead. But here comes Ziggler to steal it before the line. Ziggler comes out of the middle of nowhere with a huge run off the transition, and he will grab the victory. Burner, that mistake through the transition cost him. It slowed him down enough to where he lost that speed, and Ziggler was able to keep his speed. Will come home with the victory. An impressive victory at that. Falcon, Drone, Ranger, and Ruthless race next. Ruthless in lane number 4 is the only veteran in this race. And it's an even start. Looks like Ruthless may be in the lead. Drone bounces, but he drives to the front, passes Falcon, and it's close for second, but it's Drone with the victory. It looks like Falcon will beat Ranger in that tight battle for second place, but it's an impressive drive for Drone. He bounced in that transition, but was able to carry his speed to the line. A difficult finish here for Ruthless. Was leading. He's the only veteran in this race. Everyone else, of course, are rookies. Drone advances to the next round. Miller, Venom, 96, and Courtesy race next. Miller in lane number 1 is the only rookie in this race, and Courtesy in lane number 4 is the first of 8 New Yorkers to race in this competition. Of course, there's the New Yorkers tournament you gotta think about here. Courtesy has been on a free fall since the January competition. Can he finally get on the right track and advance to round 2 once again? And so far, the answer might be no, as he's beginning to fall behind. 96 bounces in the air. It looks like Miller's in the lead, and he will grab the victory. Courtesy will come home in second, but second isn't good enough, because if you ain't first, you may as well be last. Definitely the case here for Courtesy. He's not first. Why not be last? He's going to be losing spots anyways. He is deep in the field. I don't remember exactly where he is. I think he's around 120th. This will probably drop him, 140, maybe 150. Well, whereas his competitors have all gained. So, finishing second here, this is rough, but this is a good sign right here. For Courtesy's sake, hopefully that win is coming soon. The rookie, Miller, advances to the next round. Toyota, EB, Prime Target, and FedEx race next. And it looks to be EB way in the lead, but he bounces and wobbles. He loses too much speed, so it's Toyota. No, they're 4 wide coming to the line. And I think it was Toyota. It is Toyota to get the win. Oh my goodness, what a back and forth race. EB way in the lead, then gets passed by Toyota, who then lets everyone get right up next to him, and that was very close. Luckily, Toyota is able to hold on, will advance to the next round. That is a rough finish for EB. Went from nearly a car length lead to third place. California, Castrol, 156, and Indy race next. And it looks to be Castro falling well behind early. California bounces. 156 was on the side of the track. It's close. Coming to the line, 156 will pull away to grab the win. And it felt like nobody wanted to win that one. Castro with the slow start will somehow come home in second. California bouncing well in the air. 156 getting off the track and into Indy. His mistake nearly cost him, but he was able to save it. A good save right there. Sprint, Ethel, Spoiler, and Zonda race next. And it looks like Spoiler's in the lead, actually, but he wobbles on the side of the track a little bit. That'll give way for Sprint and Zonda to pass, and it's very close at the line. And Sprint will get the nod. Sprint will get the victory after Spoiler's mistake. And Spoiler will actually fall to last after making that mistake. That is a rough finish there. Through the transition, just bouncing on the side of the track. A rough finish here for Zonda. He's also been kind of on a free fall since that first competition. Finishes second right here to Sprint, who just barely gets the win. Purple, Hot Wheels, Sports, and Rookie AE race next. And it looks to be Hot Wheels with the lead, but then he gets swallowed up by the pack. Sports up on 2 wheels as AE and Purple begin to pull away. Purple will have the lead and grab the win at the line. It was a great start there for Hot Wheels, and it didn't look like he made a mistake. It's just his fast start just very quickly wore off. Sports getting up on two wheels, a good save, but will come home in last. The rookie in AE nearly got the victory, but he'll get beat out by Purple. X-Train, Snake, Hull, and Gearwrench race next. X-Train in lane 1 and Hull in lane 3 are rookies. Everyone else are veterans. And it looks to be an even start. Maybe Hull falling behind a little early. Snake way in the air. It's a drag race to line. And it looks like X-Train will get the victory. And he will. X-Train will get the win over Hull. Snake comes home in third. Better than it could have been. It could have been a DNF. Got way in the air. A disappointing finish here, though, for Gearwrench. Really felt like he was going to be able to capitalize on that mistake by Snake. I suppose not, as he will come home in last. X-Train beats out his rookie competitor for the win. Lightning, Type X, Siren, and T-Rex-Destroyer race next. And it looks to be maybe Siren in the lead. T-Rex-Destroyer takes it. Lightning bounces way in the air. And T-Rex-Destroyer trying to drive away. It's tight at the line. But T-Rex-Destroyer will hold on. Lightning, I don't know how he came through the transition with that much speed. Bouncing in the air. And still had a chance at the victory. A tight finish. But the competitor who finished fourth in the January competition, that's T-Rex-Destroyer, advances to round 2. Stunts, Double Liner, Charger, and 27 race next. And it's 27 with a massive lead early, but he bounces! Double Liner off the side of the track. 27's off the track as well. Stunts will sneak through to grab the victory. Charger will pull through to second. And we will have a double DNF. 27 made a massive mistake coming through the transition. Bounced way in the air, got off the side of the track. Great job for Charger to be able to maneuver around him. But that is a rough finish there for 27. And a good break for Stunts there as well. Double Liner getting way off the track. Stunts was luckily far enough ahead to not be involved in that. So T-Rex-Destroyer in the last race finished fourth. In the January competition, moves on to the next round. Stunts finished third, and now he's advancing to round 2. Sean, Gregson, 30, and Lego race next. And it looks to be Gregson in the lead. The pack begins to close. 30 way in the air, now on the side of the track, possibly into Lego. They're 4 wide, crossing the line. Who wins the race? It looks like it's gonna go to Lego. Holy moly, that was close. Lego got hit by 30 getting off the side of the track, kept moving forwards, did not let it affect her, drove to the finish line. Sean will come home in second, but it's just not enough to beat Lego. Citron, Black, Mixer, and Fastenal race next. If you've been watching this whole season, you would know the history between Mixer and Fastenal, who sit in lanes 3 and 4. In the January competition, Mixer got off the side of the track, got into Fastenal, affected his win, and ever since then, they have wrecked together. Fastenal mostly getting off the track, trying to wreck Mixer. In the last competition, they weren't on the same side, but they were eliminated next to each other. But the order has flipped, though. Usually it is Fastenal, then Mixer. This time it's Mixer, then Fastenal. So we'll see if that affects anything. Can these two get broke apart? I have no idea. At this point, I'm beginning to doubt it. And it looks to be a very even start. Maybe Black in the lead a little bit. Mixer way in the air as Fastenal begins to pull ahead. They're 3 wide crossing the line. But Fastenal will be given the victory. They're finally apart. Fastenal wins his way to the next from Mixer. Finally, these two get apart, battling. I mentioned it before the race begun. Battling, getting into one another. Fastenal has been trying to exact his revenge since that first competition. More times than not, the best revenge isn't hitting someone back. Instead, it's winning. Beating them in a competition. That's what Fastenal does here. And he advances to round 2. There are 2 races to go in the first half of round number 1 in the April competition. This race here, race number 30, involves Armor All, X8, Hyper Ice, and Blitz. And it looks like Blitz beginning to pull ahead through the transition. She bounces, but begins to pull away from the pack. And she's a car length nearly ahead as they cross the line. That was a very speedy race there by Blitz. Hasn't shown that type of speed really since 2023. The pack was close, but they could have been 10 times closer. We saw in the last race, 3, 4 wide crossing the line. This race right here, Blitz just pulled away, was basically gone. Final race of the first half of round number 1 of this competition. We've got Drift Rod, Python, Wallace, and Carvana up next. Drift Rod and Wallace, those are lanes 1 and 3, are rookies. Everyone else are veterans. And it's an even start coming through the transition. Python bounces up on the side of the wall. She begins to fall behind as Wallace will take the win ahead of Carvana. It's a close finish between the NASCARs, and it's going to be Wallace getting the win. Less than half a car length ahead right there. The rookie out last as the NASCARs finish 1-2. The other rookie in this race is Drift Rod. He comes home in 3rd. Python made that mistake, will fall to 4th. But I mentioned it. That was the final race of the first half of this round. And here are your competitors. The first 31 cars advancing to the next round. I mentioned it at the top of the show. We have 2 new competitors. So, moving forward, we might increase the first half of this round to 32. It really all depends what those 2 new competitors add. But we've got some good ones moving forwards. Statistically, half of the final 4 is going to come from this group. I don't know who my second pick would be, but I think one of my picks has definitely got to be Blitz. That was a very fast race. I'm going to leave the other one just kind of out there and undecisive. Right now, my pick to win this competition is Blitz, but we still have a long while to go. We have at least 31 races left. That could be increased. We're just going to have to wait and see what the second half of this round brings to this competition. If you don't want to miss it, subscribe to the channel. And until next time, my name is Farkle8000, and we'll see you later.